board game ever created. Murder, bury, win, you feel me?
It's cyclical gameplay. You go round and round, back and forth, kind of repetitive, isn't it? Let's put together our weapons to concoct the perfect murder.
This whole gaming industry, was that something that you were interested in beforehand, or was it, I don't know, did you come across something that kind of was the spark for the film, or was it something you were already interested in?
Well, yeah, I've always been a gamer. I work in the video game industry, but there's a lot of crossover with the board game industry, and I've attended a number of board game conventions, whether it's Gen Con or the gaming area at PAX or E3. And I've always been into getting together with a group of friends and playing a game. And I think that it just feels like a largely untapped area in movies. I'm surprised that there aren't more movies that talk about board games, because it's a huge ocean of content there that is worth exploring. And I'm just glad that I'm playing in the sandbox, and hopefully some others will come along and join me.
Uh-huh. And were all of those games that they're actually featured in the film, are they all your own inventions, or do they actually exist? Because I'm not very kind of, I know a few games, but I'm not very familiar with the board game world much.
Yeah, they were all created for the film.
Right.
So Puppies on Fire was created for the film. Monkey Panic, you don't see this in the film, but that is there somewhere in the back.
Because I mean, that first one, Puppies on Fire, I think you created your own t-shirt, your own merchandise. No, your t-shirt. I think you had a t-shirt on in there, no? Yeah.
Sure did. Yeah, that was a process. So they were all created, and a lot of them have real life proxies that people will be familiar with, but no real life game makes an appearance on screen in the film.
Uh-huh. And something that I picked up on, I get the feeling, I mean, maybe it was just for dramatic effect, but I got the feeling that you wanted to shine a light on the competitiveness between people who were involved in it. Was that something that you felt you resonated with in that world, or maybe in kind of the film industry? Or was that just something you used as dramatic effect for the film?
Well, I think we see it in all creative ventures whenever money gets involved. I think that in any entrepreneurial environment, that involves, some piece of art, there is going to be someone there that has the passion for it. There's going to be someone there that's driving the project, and there's going to be someone that's thinking about the money, well, what are we getting at the end of the day? And so really, these three characters represent three very distinct ideas, and they're all part of a puzzle, to develop commerce, to develop merchandise. But to get ahead in an environment like that, there's usually some sacrifices have to be made. And it's not that it's specific to the film industry or the board game industry. I think it's everywhere. Yeah. I think it's any system that deals with art has these dynamics involved, and it's just the way it is. And this film is, my perspective on how I see the world.
Let me ask you this. Who hasn't daydreamed about killing someone? Come on, show of hands.
Another perspective, which I loved in this film, is the fact that it highlights violence, hyper-violence, but we never actually, I mean, there's a little bit of blood, but we virtually never get to see it. But it shows just how powerful the mind is. There's certain scenes there. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'll ever grate cheese again because of it, but because of what my mind created rather than what you show on the screen. No, that was brilliantly done.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It was important for me to focus on the emotional ramifications of violence rather than the physical showcasing of it. I think there is definitely a place for violence in horror. I'm not anti-violence. Martyrs, I think, is one of the best movies ever made. I'm on a binge watching of the entire Saw franchise right now, in anticipation of Spiral.
Oh, for the new one, yeah.
I don't think that that's this movie. I think this movie is about the people, and I'd rather see what they're going through and how this violence is affecting them, because in a film that's dealing with a lot of these different themes, I don't want to desensitize anyone to the violence happening. Yeah. And that can happen. Not everyone can get desensitized, but you can get desensitized to what you're watching, if by minute 90 you've been saturated all screen, and I didn't want people to tune out of the violence. I wanted them to realize, no, this always matters. It's always important. Look at what it's doing to them.
I was watching another interview that you did when you were at I think it was the Austin Festival, and you talked about some special takes that you did called Screw It Takes, I think you called them.
Yeah,
which were essentially you did what you planned to do, but then you did some extra ones just to see where you could go with it. No, I mean like promoting improvisation is great, especially if it's like a comedy sketch or something like that. But when it's coming up with ideas to get away with murder, it must have taken a turn for the the worse in some ways. No, must have been complicated. No.
It always worked out to my advantage. So Craig Kukowski, who plays Victor Von Stubbs, he is an improviser by trade. And I knew moving into the production, like, well, I want room for improvisation. The script is very tight, and I need to make sure I get all the lines. But I by the fourth or fifth day, when we were like really moving well, I told the actors, like, listen, we get the take that I'm satisfied with, and I think we have. Then we're gonna do an extra take, a screw it or fuck it take, and you do what ever you want, and don't worry about missing your mark. Don't worry about my cinematographer yelling at you if you don't get the light exactly. Do what you want and say what you want. Reword the lines. And, I ultimately did use a number of those takes in the film itself because they just told my story more effectively.
Yeah. At the same time, I mean, I think you edited the film as well, no? So you were setting yourself up for even more of a challenge, no? Once you got into the editing room, no, doing that.
It was, I'd rather have the problem of too much good to work with than not enough. And so I really lucked out. And it's interesting with, there are so many different versions of this film that could have existed, and they're all very unique, and they all tell the story in very minor and very, very nuanced ways. And I think ultimately what the resulting edit is the best version of this film that I could have landed on. But editing, in a nutshell, was a pain in the ass.
Will there be a Snyder cut of this one? Well, a Lovan cut in this case for this one? Is there another one that you'd like to get out there for the people to kind of see what you also came up with?
The expansion pack is what you mean. I have a number of scenes that didn't make the cut. There's the first cut of this movie was 40 minutes longer.
40 minutes.
There's a lot. There's a few sequences in general. There's a few sequences specifically that I do want to share that I will get out there sometime, someday. I don't know if it'll be edited into an actual cut, but I'll definitely make sure it's available at some time. More fantasy sequences as well.
Right. And can we talk a little bit about the actual board game itself? Because I was watching the credits and I've lost the name now. Uniquely Geek. No, they made the actual board for you. No, can you kind of talk me through that a little bit?
So Uniquely Geek made the board game table for Victor Von Stubbs. So the gaming table in the film was actually custom designed for us for this production. Mm-hmm. The board game itself, though, was designed by myself and my wife. Okay. She did all of the art that looked good, and all the hand-drawn art that looks bad. That's my work. So it's really like a confluence of us working together to make a game that seems like it could be a real functional, playable board game.
Mm-hmm. And is there a plan for you to release a game? I mean, you've created quite a few kind of instructions there now. How to play? Is there actually a fully functioning game that or 99% finished game that you might eventually release?
It's fully functional. I would love to release it. Whoever has the money out there and the drive to help me figure that out.
I saw there's someone in a wood shack living somewhere out in the sticks.
Let me come out from your wood shack, Mr. Stubbs. I'm ready. Give me a little bit of money and we'll make it happen.
Brilliant. So I mean, obviously you've got that on the horizon, and this additional like 40 minutes that you've cut. But apart from that, is there anything that you're working on that you hope to be able to get into, or that you're already working on for the imminent future?
Yeah, I got a number of projects. I don't know which one I'm going to embark on yet. It depends on who's paying for it. If I'm paying for then I am going to develop my bronze tiered budget film that also plays in the world of video gaming, actually.
Right.
And video game development. And I'm working on something that I'm really excited about with the composer of the film, Jonathan Snipes.
Yeah, there's something else that I forgot to speak about. Actually, yeah, there's a fantastic. I mean, it's a very unique
Yeah,
score with all the different instruments. It's very, very unique, very different. I mean, it gives you kind of a Cluedo feel to it, now in a way.
absolutely. And so Jonathan Snipes and Dave Rothbaum, they did an amazing job. And one, the principle behind the music was that it's going to be a woodwind trio. So it's largely, clarinet, flute, bass clarinet, and they need to play in songs that should be built for an orchestra. So it's usually 3 instruments going, and they're playing in songs that are much bigger than the orchestra they've not been provided. It's kind of like the 3 characters.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to have a world that's much bigger than what they have. And so really the sonically it matches what's happening in the story. And additionally, a lot of the percussion is made from actual sounds of board games, like dice being rolled and cards being shuffled. So if you listen closely with headphones, you'll find like, oh, there's actually a lot of board game sounds within the score itself.
Wow, brilliant. Well, listen, Michael, it's time's up. So thanks very much for your time. I wish you the best of luck with the release. I'm sure it's going to go down really well. And I hope to speak to you about one of these projects further down the road.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Michael. Take care now.
What's the point doing all this planning if we're not gonna actually use it?
That's a real person, Adam!